Hi, I'm Jeff, and welcome to another one of my videos where I give you the opportunity to test your comic book grading skills up against actual results from CGC. Today, in this video, we have 3 books that just got back from CGC. These books belong to best friend to the channel, Octavio. Octavio has once again made his submissions to CGC available to all of us so that we can practice our comic book grading skills. Thank you very much, Octavio. For those of you who have seen these videos before, thank you so much for coming back and checking out this one. I hope that the ones in the past have been educational for you, and I hope that this one is as well. For those of you who have not seen my videos before, thank you so much for coming and checking this one out. I have a lot of videos in this style on my channel, so I highly recommend you check those out in addition to this one. But let me tell you what we do in these videos. What I do is I take video of books when they were raw, before they were sent out to CGC. It gives us the opportunity to assess the books for any damage, any flaws, anything that might impact the grade negatively. Then we take our observations of the books and we give our best guess as to what we think the grade of the book should be. Then months later, we get books back from CGC and we unbox them here on camera and we see what the actual results from CGC were. And did we nail our guesses? Did we match CGC perfectly? Great on us, fantastic. We're doing something very right. If not, which happens more times than not, at least in my case, it becomes an opportunity to learn something. We can then take the knowledge that we have of the final grade that CGC gave the book, we can go back to look at the video again of the book when it was raw, and we can learn, now that we know what a 5.5 is, we can look at the book that got a 5.5 and assess it and learn what a 5.5 is. All right, I think that makes sense, right? Let's go ahead right now and take a look at the 3 books that we're going to be talking about today in this video when they were raw. All right, first up we have Prince Namor, The Submariner, issue number 1. This is a pretty hot book right now, so it's a great one to look at, and it's got a decent amount of flaws, so it's also a great one to test our comic book grading skills. Now take note of those blue ink spots there off of Namor's heel. That is unique to this book, probably going to affect the grade, but we're also going to use that to differentiate this book from the second copy of this book that we'll see coming up in just a minute. But focusing right now on this book, you'll see there's some color rub through there, there's some damage, there are some color-breaking spine ticks. Nothing super tragic, but also far from pristine. You'll also see there appears to be some yellowing all along the outer edge of this book, and of course a color-breaking crease right there in the bottom right-hand corner and some damage as well. That yellowing is probably because it wasn't stored in a bag and board and it got hit with some oxygen and it just kind of made the book look not so great. You can see that same kind of shadow here on the back all the way around the book. This book has already been pressed. When I submit to CGC, I generally have CCS handle it. There's some creases right there. You can barely see them, but they're there. So a lot of times in my videos, you're looking at books that will be pressed that haven't yet been pressed. This book you're seeing after it's already been pressed. So it will not improve any further once it gets to CGC. But it's a decent looking book that has a fair amount of flaws. Because of the flaws that I see, I'm going to give it a 7.0. Next up, we have the second copy of Prince Namor, The Submariner. This one has a lot of similar defects. You'll see it doesn't have the same amount of yellowing all along the outside. It also doesn't have the blue spots, remember there, that we'll use to designate this book or differentiate it from the other one. But it does have color-breaking spine ticks. Maybe not as bad as the previous one, but a lot of that color rub here in the box right there and the kind of the damage in the upper left-hand corner is similar. Maybe a little bit of yelling. Now it has all this damage along the edge here that other book didn't have. The color breaking creasing there in the bottom right hand corner. Some more damage there along the bottom. So whereas the front of the other book had all that yellowing around the border, this one has more kind of color breaking creasing and damage. The back of this book, you'll see, once again, the yellowing around the edge is there slightly, but nowhere near as bad as the previous book, but some of it's there. It's got some issues there. That's kind of a rough edge there along the bottom. There's a bit of more of a shadow than I'd like to see there along the bottom. You'll see the back side of the color-breaking spine ticks that we saw on the front there, but not a horrible looking back of the book. It's got different defects, but to me, it's got the same grade, 7.0. Finally, we have Prince Namor, the Submariner, issue number 5. This is the first appearance of Tiger Shark. Yeah, you see it right there. So this book shows you right away all the color-breaking spine ticks that it has and damage there below the staple. I think those lines going parallel to the bottom of the book, I think are actually printer things. I don't think that's going to hurt the grade that much, but all those color-breaking spine ticks there along the spine are absolutely going to be an issue. But that top left-hand corner where the box was looks better than the previous books. That top right-hand corner has some color rub and some issues. A little bit of a rough edge there, but not so bad. None of the creasing that we saw on the bottom right-hand corner of those other books. But yeah, obviously this book has flaws, but as of right now, to me it's looking slightly better than those number ones. You'll see there, that top left-hand corner right there, that's got some flaw right there. This edge right there is not so great. It looks like there's some light creasing throughout there. There's a little chip, it looks like, taken out right there. That's going to hurt the grade. That corner is a little more blunted than we'd like to see. We'd like to see nice 90-degree angles, and that's not there, and neither is it there in that other corner. Maybe some color rub in that little t-shirt ad right there. But all in all, it's a pretty good-looking book, but not fantastic. I'm going to give it a 7.5. All right, so now you've had the opportunity to take a look at these 3 books when they were raw. We've got the 2 copies of Submariner issue number 1 and the 1 copy of Submariner issue number 5 right here back from CGC. You have your best guess as to what you think the grade should be. Now it's time to find out what the actual results from CGC are. Let's wait no further. Now, even though I am opening up a sealed box here, integrity is an important thing for me in these videos. So I will confess to you that this box has been opened, not by me, by Octavio, and he did it for a very good reason. We had to delay getting together to do this video, at least my portion of it, a little bit, and so he wanted to open up his box and make sure that there weren't any issues, any damage, any problems with the shipment from CGC, and that is absolutely the right thing to do. You basically get a fairly narrow window of opportunity, about 3 weeks, to address concerns with CGC, so you don't want to sit on an unopened box too long, because if you wait like a month or more and you open it up and there's a problem, CGC is going to push back on that, and you don't want that problem. So he opened this up and he found that everything was fine, and he packed up everything right back the way he found it, so we can still assess basically how CGC packed it, and they packed it how they always packed it. This is exactly how I would expect it to be if Octavio had never opened it. They wrapped one piece of bubble wrap around it this way and another piece around it this way. This is a shipment of 3 books, so this is very typical for a 3-book shipment from them. So I'm going to go ahead and take them out. And then as always, as often, they have their cardboard on either side with a rubber band holding it in place. So let's go ahead and take that off. Now I'm going to do this out of my peripheral vision because I don't want to see the grades. I want to show you the grades first, and then I will show myself the grades. So I'm trying to figure out what side is the back. Okay, that's the back. I can tell there's a little recessed area on the back. And great. So we should be good to go. Okay, so I'm pulling these out at whatever order they're in right now, so I don't know which one I'm going to give you first, but I will cover the grades. And then I will show you the first one is one of the copies of Submariner issue number 1. Now, I mentioned when we looked at the books in the raw that we are going to be identifying the difference between these 2 copies of Submariner issue number 1 by the blue dots that are next to Namor's right ankle. And this is the one. This is the one with the blue dots down there. So keep that in mind if you had different guesses for the different copies of issue number 1. I had the same guess for both of them, so let's see how I did. I thought it was going to be a 7.0. Let's show you the results. Okay, you see the answer. Now let's see, how'd I do? 7.0. I am always like low grade astonished when I'm right, because I am not a professional grader. I am not an expert. I'm just a guy trying to learn and making YouTube videos to take people along with me. So I'm very, very happy when I see that I actually got a grade correct. We'll go ahead and throw up any grader's notes that might be available right here next to me, you know, using the handy dandy little QR code right there. So if you didn't choose a 7.0, if you had a different grade, refer to the grader's notes and go back to the video of this book when it was raw. Once again, the one with the blue dots by his ankle there. And, you know, see what you can learn. See how you can reassess to get closer to the 7.0 that CGC gave the book. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next book in this submission, which is, covering it up and seeing, is the other copy of Submariner issue number 1. This is obviously the one that does not have the blue dots next to Namor's ankle. Now, you might have had a different guess for this copy. I had the same guess. I thought it was also a 7.0. Let us see. Am I going to be 2 for 2 or 1 for 2 in counting? Okay. There's the result from CGC. Let me see. What do we get? A 7.0. Awesome. Wow. 2 for 2 on this submission. I've had some submissions where I whiffed big time. So I'm very, once again, excited about the 2 for 2 so far. Of course, we'll throw the grader's notes from this one if there are any right up there next to me. So you, once again, you can refer to the grader's notes. If you didn't guess 7.0 for this book, refer to the grader's notes, even though sometimes they're not very helpful. But you can use them as a reference and go back and take a look at the video of this book when it was raw and adjust so that you can see exactly what qualifies as a 7.0 from CGC. All right, well, it doesn't happen very often, but today is an opportunity for me to hit the hat trick. Will I? Probably not, but here's hoping. Here's the final book we're going to be looking at today. This is Submariner issue number 5. Now, my best guess for the grade for this book was a 7.5. Let us see what the results from CGC are. Okay. Did I do it? Did I get all 3 perfectly correct? Ha ha ha! Yes, I did it. 7.5. That's awesome. 3 out of 3 on my guesses on these books. They are all off-white to white pages, which is generally something I don't even bother addressing in these books. Page quality is pretty easy to determine if you just look at it, and generally pretty inconsequential to most collectors. Most collectors don't really care so much about white or off-white to white, maybe in certain instances, but in general not so much, so I don't feature that. But they, just for your reference, they are all off-white to white. We'll put the grader's notes for this book as well right up here next to me, and as always, I tell you, refer to those. Go back to the raw book. If you didn't choose a 7.5 for this, reassess and see what adjustments you might need to make so you can make your guesses be closer to the results from CGC. Well, I did good. I did good in this video, and I'm clearly very happy about that. Let me know down in the comments how you did. There's no judgment here. As I mentioned, I'm wrong a lot. So it's totally okay to be wrong. That's just an opportunity to learn. So don't feel bad if you were wrong. Let me know down in the comments what grade you gave and why you gave it. And you know, do you think CGC is crazy, or were you like, well, no, Jeff, this was a great opportunity for me to learn something, so thank you for that. So let me know your thoughts about the grades and your guesses down in the comments. As always, if you liked this video, likes are appreciated by me. And if you haven't already subscribed, I invite you to do so. I have lots of this kind of comments that will always be coming from my channel. All right, thank you all so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.